Parenting is a delicate dance between supporting your children and allowing them to struggle, between protecting them and permitting them to grow. While love motivates our desire to help, it's possible to cross the line from supportive parenting into enabling behavior. Enabling children, especially at different developmental stages, can impede emotional, social, and cognitive growth, leaving them ill-equipped to handle the realities of adulthood. This article examines the meaning of enabling, how it differs from spoiling, the psychology behind it, and how to recognize these patterns at each stage of childhood development. Enabling, in the context of parenting, refers to behaviors that remove natural consequences, prevent learning from mistakes, or create undue dependence. Enabling does not always stem from negligence or indulgence. It often arises from anxiety, guilt, or a fear of seeing our children in distress. Parents may step in too quickly, solve problems that children can solve themselves, or shield them from discomfort that is essential to maturity. Parents often enable their children not out of laziness or overindulgence, but from deeper emotional patterns that are difficult to untangle. Several underlying reasons can contribute to this dynamic. Need for control, disguised as care. When life feels uncertain or emotionally unstable, controlling a child's outcomes gives the parent a false sense of security. By managing the child's experiences, the parent reduces their own anxiety about failure or unpredictability. Fear of emotional discomfort. Many parents cannot bear to see their child suffer, struggle, or experience setbacks. Their intervention is driven by an unconscious fear that their child's failure will be too painful, either for the child or themselves. This often stems from the parent's own unresolved trauma or guilt. Enmeshment and identity fusion. In some families, the child's identity becomes entangled with the parent's emotional world. The child is no longer seen as a separate person with their own developmental arc, but as an extension of the parent. The parent may derive self-worth from being needed and unconsciously keep the child dependent to maintain that role. Finding purpose through the child. Especially in cases where the parent feels unfulfilled, isolated, or emotionally lost, enabling a child can become a substitute for meaning. The child's immobility reinforces the parent's role as caretaker, creating a cycle where dependency validates the parent's purpose. Fear of abandonment or being left behind. Some parents fear that if the child becomes independent, they will no longer be needed or loved. This fear can manifest as discouraging the child from moving out, getting a job, or forming outside relationships. Projection of their own limitations. Parents may project their own past failures or perceived inadequacies onto their children, assuming their child cannot succeed where they once struggled. This can lead to prematurely closed doors and reduced expectations. How is enabling different from spoiling? Spoiling typically involves overindulgence, giving too many material things, caving into demands, or failing to set limits. It's about excess and gratification. Enabling, by contrast, is about control masked as help. It's not always indulgent, but often protective. It prevents a child from developing autonomy, decision-making skills, and resilience. Spoiling may lead to entitlement. Enabling leads to learned helplessness. Learned helplessness occurs when a child believes they are incapable of doing something on their own because they've always had someone else do it for them. This belief system can lead to dependency, low self-esteem, and poor coping strategies. It often shows up in children who were never allowed to fail or who were habitually rescued from the consequences of their choices. The harm of predetermining a child's limitations. A particularly destructive form of enabling is when a parent predefines the limits of a child's potential and enforces those limits through daily routines, emotional scripts, and diminished expectations. This goes beyond merely helping or protecting. It is a kind of identity foreclosure imposed on a child. The child is confined to a role shaped by the parent's fears or assumptions. The parent might overemphasize a diagnosis, insist the child will never succeed in certain areas, or keep them locked in a narrow world of indulgent but unchallenging activity. Signs of this pattern in the parent: says he can't handle that, or she's not like other kids, makes future decisions on the child's behalf without trying alternatives, avoids conversations about growth or long-term goals, replaces challenge with entertainment, reinforces immobility in the name of care, feels needed and validated by the child's dependents. Signs of this pattern in the child: lack of initiative or ambition, fear of discomfort or unfamiliar tasks, deep dependency on routines, limited life skills, e.g., no budgeting, no job skills, avoidance of accountability, emotional fragility when confronted with responsibility, no articulated vision of the future. This dynamic can create a person who appears emotionally young, socially passive, and psychologically stalled. Stage by stage, recognizing enabling through development. Infancy, 2 years, trust and safety. Enabling is unlikely here, but overprotective behaviors can start early. Focus, allow brief, independent play, tolerate safe frustration, encourage sensory exploration. Toddlerhood, 2 to 4 years, autonomy versus shame. Healthy attempts at I do it should be encouraged. Enabling looks like doing everything for them, removing all discomfort, avoiding discipline. Focus, encourage trial and error, even with mess and frustration. Early childhood, 5 to 7 years, initiative and responsibility. Chores and natural consequences begin here. Enabling looks like doing homework for them, micromanaging social conflict. Focus, let them experience forgotten backpacks or missed deadlines occasionally. Middle childhood, 8 to 11 years, competence in planning. They can manage routines and begin abstract thinking. Enabling looks like managing every detail of school and home life. Focus, emphasize planning, allow minor failures, and praise effort. Early adolescence, 12 to 14 years, self-identity. Boundaries, privacy, and accountability are key. Enabling looks like making excuses to teachers, avoiding confrontation, fixing problems they caused. Focus, let them face consequences and explain themselves. Late adolescence, 15 to 18 years, adult readiness. Teens need space to practice adult decisions. Enabling looks like saying they'll never be able to work or move out, deciding everything in advance. Focus, treat them as a rising adult. Assume competence unless clearly proven otherwise. College age, 18 to 22 years, launching into adulthood. This is where enabling becomes visibly stifling. Enabling looks like controlling their schedule, money, and emotions, tolerating stagnation. Focus, offer support, not management. Let them surprise you. Warning signs you're enabling your child, solving their problems before they try. Avoiding conflict to keep peace. Feeling emotionally validated by being needed. Projecting a limiting narrative onto your child. Resisting independence milestones, driving, jobs, college. Feeling drained or resentful while still doing everything for them. How to break the cycle of enabling. Reflect what fear or emotional need is driving your behavior. Set boundaries. Know what you will and won't do anymore. Let go of the outcome. Allow them to try, fail, and grow. Speak the truth in love. Be honest about expectations and hope. Redirect purpose. Find value in your own life beyond being needed. Conclusion: the courage to let them grow. True love gives freedom, not dependence. It sacrifices control for dignity and comfort for growth. Enabling may look like help, but it denies the child the opportunity to discover their own strength. You cannot prevent every fall, but you can walk beside them as they rise. To enable independence is not abandonment. It is the highest form of belief in your child's God-given capacity.